What's up guys, Ethan here, your Spinnaker expert. Thanks for joining us for another segment of our Spinnaker Training Series. Today we're going to be talking about deployment strategies and how to use them to get the most out of your software deployments. The strategy we're going to be talking about today is the red-black strategy, more commonly known as the blue-green strategy. What this strategy does is take any previously deployed server groups and disable them so that your new server group is the one that's taking traffic, but you have instances available for quick rollback. It does this by pulling the previous server group out of the load balancer. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to build a pipeline that uses the red-black strategy and then what it looks like when you're using that strategy for your deployment. Let's get started. So we'll notice here initially that we have the v000 server group deployed. All this is 2 instances of Nginx running in Kubernetes. So if we look at our pipeline configuration, we'll see that we have a deploy task stage set up to deploy to the Spinnaker training cluster, and it is the red-black stack. So if we look at how our server group is configured, we'll see that we are the only thing that we're doing is selecting the red-black strategy. Now, there are a couple options here that you may want to take into account as you decide what's best for your deployment. The first one is this checkbox to scale down replace server groups to 0 instances. What that will do is instead of just disabling your previous server group, it will actually destroy the resources. Now, this may be cheap if your application is quick to start up, or it may be more cost effective for you to leave your instances running. Now, we can choose to leave as many previous server groups as we want. Say we're deploying really frequently and we want to be able to roll back more than just the most recently deployed version. We can adjust that here. We can also wait a certain number of seconds before it's disabled. Perhaps we want to start serving traffic on the new server group and leave that running for a period of time before we destroy or disable any previous ones. That's what we're saying here. So we'll just leave these set to the default for this case, and I'll show you quickly what our deployment looks like. We're just deploying a simple Nginx container that exposes port 80. And so if we go into our pipeline execution window and start a manual execution, we will then deploy the 1.11 tag of Nginx. And we'll select 1.11.1 Alpine and run it. So we'll click in here to see our deployment actually taking place. So the red-black strategy is going to start deploying v001 of our new server group. We'll see that if we pop into our clusters window. What it's doing is telling Kubernetes to go ahead and start the new instance of our application. It's important to point out that this is not just a Kubernetes specific deployment strategy. You can use this for all the different cloud providers that Spinnaker supports. So we will refresh to start seeing our new server groups come into place. I just refreshed to kind of bring the process forward a little bit quicker. We can see now that Spinnaker is starting to disable the v000 server group. And as you will recall from previous videos, disabling just means it's being pulled out of the load balancer to stop serving customer traffic. The grayed out nature of this box just means that we're disabling the server group. So, as part of this, we will see that the disable cluster task is now running. What that's doing is disabling our previous server group and leaving the newest one there. And as this keeps going, if you're constantly trying to hit your application, trying to make requests to your application, you're not going to drop any customer traffic, and that's important in meeting SLAs. And we'll pop back into our clusters tab, and we'll notice that v00 is still there. It is not destroyed, it's just disabled. At this point, version 1 of our server group is taking traffic. Version 0 may continue to drain traffic until it is successfully completed. We'll go back into our pipeline execution to monitor the status of this. and we're still disabling the server group. Right now it's just verifying that the server group is disabled. And there we go, now it's done. So the reason that you may want to use the red-black strategy is you want to enable a quick rollback. The difference between red-black and Highlander is that we can roll back. If you recall from the previous video, Highlander just destroys any of the non-new server groups. Red-black will leave these in place so that we can actually click on the disabled server group and then use the rollback server group action. Now we're not going to talk about rolling back a server group today. We'll save that for another video, but I hope it was really useful for you to see how to set up a red-black deployment very simply with Spinnaker. Thanks for watching.